In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice. Always try to see the best in people, he would say. As a consequence, I'm inclined to reserve all judgments, but even I have a limit. Back then, all of us drank too much. The more in tune with the tones we were, the more we drank, and none of us contributed anything new. When I came back from the city, I was disgusted with everyone and everything. Only one man was exempt from my disgust: Gatsby. The history of the holidays really began the night I drove over to my cousin Daisy's for dinner. Her husband was heir to one of America's wealthiest families. His name was Tom Buchanan. When we were at Yale together, he'd been a sporting star, but his glory days were behind him and he contented himself with other affairs.
Hey, what do you say if you go into town after dinner?
Can't.
Catch up with the old Wolfpack?
Big day on the new job tomorrow.
Nonsense, we are going.
Oh, Nikki, is that you, my lovely?
Daisy Buchanan, the golden girl. A breathless warmth flowed from her. I promised that there was no one else in the world she so wanted to see.
Do they miss me in Chicago?
Oh yes, about a dozen people sent their love.
How gorgeous.
They're absolutely in mourning. They're crying, they're wailing, they're screaming, they're shouting. Daisy Buchanan, we can't live without you.
I'm paralyzed with happiness. Jordan Baker, a very famous tennis player.
She was the most frightening person I've ever seen. But I enjoyed looking at her.
Nick, Daisy tells me you are over at West Egg.
I know somebody in West Egg.
I don't know a single.
Oh, you must know Gatsby. Gatsby? What Gatsby?
It's time for dinner.
Oh, Nikki,
What?
I think everything's terrible anyhow. You know, I've been everywhere and seen everything and done everything, and I'm pretty cynical about everything. You know...
And how is...
Listen, Nick. Tom is always God knows where with God knows who. I wish I was a fool. That's the best thing a girl can be in this world. Beautiful little fool. All bright, precious things fade so fast, and they don't come back.
Tom had invited me to town on the pretense of a lunch at Yale Club, but the day took an unexpected turn. We went by Wilson's car service. His wife turned out to be Tom's mistress. Neither of them could stand who they are married to. No one except me ever received an actual invitation to Gatsby. You see, the rest of New York just came uninvited. The whole city packed into automobiles, and all weekend, every weekend, ended up at Gatsby's. And I mean everyone from every corner of the city. This kaleidoscopic carnival spilled through Gatsby's door.
See her standing, hanging down, skinny buns upon the air. Used to be lovely, used to be clean. Now through you is all she can see.
know.
I remember you lived next door.
Did you get an invitation?
People aren't invited to Gatsby's.
Well, I was. I seem to be the only one. Who is this Gatsby?
Well, I don't care. He gives large parties. They're so intimate. And in small parties, there's no any privacy.
Clamber down all smoking mirrors and falling.
Your face is familiar. Having a good time, old sport? The whole thing is incredible. I live next door. He even sent me an invitation, but I still haven't met Mr. Gatsby. No one's met him. They say he's second cousin to Devil. I'm afraid I'm not a very good host, old sport, you see. I'm Gatsby.
His smile was one of those rare smiles that you may come across 4 or 5 times in life. He seemed to understand you and believe in you just as you would like to be understood and believed.
I don't want you to get the wrong impressions about myself. A couple of lies, I assure you. You have the stories? Well, I'll tell you God's truth. God's truth about myself. I'm the son of some very wealthy family of Middle West. I was sadly all dead now. I was educated in Oxford, like all my ancestors. You see, it's a family tradition.
The way he spoke, no wonder people thought he was lying.
After that, I lived like a young prince in all the capitals of Europe.
Europe?
Yeah, Europe. Paris, Venice, Zurich, Moscow, collecting jewels, hunting big game, painting little, mostly for myself, and trying to forget something very sad that happened to me long ago.
What could I say? Could it all be true?
You see, you ought to know something about my life. I don't want you to think that I'm some nobody. You see, Ospo, I want to make a big request of you.
A big request?
Yeah, Miss Baker will explain you everything when you take her tomorrow to tea. Sorry, Ospo, I need to go. Good night, Ospo. Good night, thank you. What games are you and Gatsby playing at?
Please, Nick, sit down.
What is this big request?
Nick, he just wants you to invite Daisy to tea.
Tea? Daisy? And Gatsby? Why?
Well, I don't know where to start. You see, I met Gatsby 5 years ago in Louisville. Daisy was by far the most popular girl with the young students. And one of them was Gatsby. And the way he looked at her is the way all girls want to be looked at.
So what happened?
I don't know, but a year later Tom Buchanan from Chicago swept and stole her away. But the morning of the wedding she received a letter.
What was in the letter?
She wouldn't tell me.
Tell them Daisy's changed her mind.
Anyways, that day at 5 o'clock, Daisy found Tom Buchanan with more pomp and circumstance that Louisville had ever seen.
It's a strange coincidence, isn't it? Gatsby's house being so close.
It's not a coincidence. He bought that house to be near her. He threw all those parties hoping she'd bond in one night. He constantly asked about Daisy. I was the first one who knew her.
All that for a girl he hasn't seen in 5 years? And now he just wants me to have her for tea? Then what is to it?
Kind of takes your breath away, doesn't it?
And do you think I'm should? I mean, does Daisy want to see Gatsby?
She's absolutely not to know. You're just supposed to invite her over so he can happen to drop by.
Can't wait all day. I'm leaving.
Don't be silly, it's just 2 minutes to 4.
Nobody's coming for tea, it's too late.
It's her.
Is this absolutely where you live, my dearest one? And why do I have to come alone? Are you in love with me? Oh my goodness. I'm certainly glad to see you again.
I'm certainly glad to see you as well.
We, well, met before.
We haven't met for many years.
5 years in November.
Tea?
Thank you, sport. Yeah, thank you,
it's
sport.
alright, thank you.
I just need to pop into town.
Town? Nick, I gotta talk with you.
Oh God, Nick, it was a terrible
You're
mistake.
embarrassed, that's all, and Daisy's embarrassed.
She's embarrassed.
Just as you are.
Don't talk so loud.
You're acting like a little boy. You're rude. Daisy is in there all alone.
Nick, I want you and Daisy both to come and see my house.
Are you sure you want me to come?
Absolutely, all sport.